Okay. What about receiving the Holy Spirit by the laying on of hands? In the Acts of the Apostles, okay. We'll have a break after this question. In the Acts of the Apostles, we find different ways in which people were filled with the Holy Spirit. Let's take the first, Acts 2. Number of things. Many people only take one of those things and make a doctrine out of it. They all spoke in tongues. But that was only one of those things. What all happened on the day of Pentecost when they were first filled with the Spirit? They spoke in tongues. There were visible tongues of fire on top of everybody's head. Nobody ever talks about that. There was a rushing wind. And fourthly, they spoke in a language which they'd never learned and which everybody could understand. Now, I've never seen that happen anywhere. And I don't think anybody has, where all these four things happen. So, when people take just one of those and say that's the mark of being filled with the Holy Spirit, I have a question. Then the second time, when we read of people being filled with the Holy Spirit, in Acts chapter 8, we don't really have any evidence what happened, but people could see something. But there we read that Peter and John laid hands on them. In Acts chapter 9, we read the Apostle Paul being filled with the Holy Spirit, Ananias laid hands on him. In Acts chapter 10, they were not even baptized. Cornelius, nobody laid hands on them, and he was filled with the Holy Spirit. And then Acts chapter 19, again, Paul laid hands on the Ephesian Christians. So, there doesn't seem to be a common pattern. In some cases they laid hands, but it is usually the apostles. And the other thing we see in laying on of hands was that everybody the apostles laid hands on were filled with the Holy Spirit, which makes me feel that it was a special gift God had given to the apostles. I've never seen anybody with that gift today, where every single person they lay hands on is filled with the Spirit. I haven't seen it. I don't think there's any such person anywhere. But in the case of the apostles, for Acts 19, for example, there were 12 disciples, and it doesn't say 8 of them received them, the other 4 didn't. No, it was always 100% rate of success. But it doesn't seem to be a common pattern throughout. And so today, we don't make that a rule. God can do it with or without the laying on of hands. Another question is, do people fall backwards, lay on the floor, as shown on television? Well, if they want to, they can, but you don't have to. That's all I say. I think it's a psychological response to what they think is expected of them, or some type of hypnosis, where you submit to the authority of this great man of God, and you know that you won't get hurt because they've got the catchers behind. Now, Jesus didn't train a whole lot of catchers. I think this is very different today, what we see. There's no such gift in the Holy Spirit, catchers. So, I think it's more psychological and dangerous if it's due to hypnosis. I see that Jesus lifted people up. I never see him pushing people down in the whole Bible. So, if people do the opposite of what Jesus is doing, I'm a bit wary of that. So, if you go to such a meeting where people are falling down, I usually give people a couple of promises. Psalm 91, 1,000 shall fall on your left side and 10,000 on your right, but it shall not come near me. Or an even better one. In Jude 24, Jesus is able to keep you from falling.